what's up? In this video I'm going to show you how to change strings on a regular steel string acoustic guitar. This is not a classical guitar. You'll know you have one of those if you have little slits on top and you need to tie little knots over here. We're not going to be going over this. We're going to change strings on the guitar. We're going to hydrate the fretboard. We're going to put new strings on, and then we are going to stretch out the strings so that it's not going out of tune for the next 3 weeks, okay? So I'm going to show you my process for doing this. It's super, super easy. So grab your guitar, grab your strings, and let's get to it. Okay, so before we get started, I got a couple things that we're going to need. So I have some of this stuff. We're going to rub that into the fretboard once we get it, the strings taken off, and then I'm going to scrub it in here, microfiber cloth to wipe it off, wire cutters, strings, tuner, winder. That's it, okay? Cool, so let's do this. Now, just like taking off the lug nuts on a car, you don't take one string off at a time. What'll happen is if you do that, by the time you get to maybe the first 2 strings or whatever, it's going to be really lopsided on the tension, and that is not good for the guitar neck. So just maybe do a couple turns on each one, and then repeat the process. Oh, we're the wrong way. 2 or 3 turns until it's just totally loose. Okay, cool. So I'm gonna now get all of these off. Okay, so now once you get them pretty loose, there's no more tension on there, I would just clip these things off. And then over here, what we're gonna do, you just wind it out. I'm trying to hold the guitar and do this, so sweet, okay? And then on the other side here, your acoustic guitar may be a little bit different. Some of them you can just thread it up through here. And of course, I am not referring to nylon string guitar or classical guitar. You have to tie the knot. We're not doing that. But these little bridge pins, there's a couple ways you could do this. We could cut all these off and reach your hand in there and push them up. Or you get one of these little guys and it's got this little thingy on it. And you just go here, boom, pulls it up, voila. And then later we're gonna put it back in going like this, boom, okay? So let me get all these bad boys off.
A few moments later.
Okay, so before we put the strings back on, a couple things. So this right here, the saddle, you can actually take that out. And I'm just gonna leave it in there though, okay? And if it does fall out, not that big a deal, but just make sure that it goes back in the same way it came out. You can see that's got a bigger notch for the 6th string. So what we're gonna do is I'm going to spray this fretboard, and we could actually do this right here. Just gonna hydrate the fretboard a little bit. This is crazy, crazy important, especially if you're in a really hot and dry climate like I am here in Utah. Okay, that was probably a little too much, but that's okay. And we're gonna scrub this guy in. And what happens is if the guitar neck starts getting dried out, you can run your fingers along here, and if it starts to catch and cut you, that's because the fretboard is essentially shrinking due to the dryness, and then the frets hang out over top, which is not a good thing. So that's why every time you change your strings, I would highly recommend doing this just to keep it hydrated. You probably don't need to drench it like I just did. If that does happen, there's a couple things you can do. You can take it to a guitar shop, of course. It's kind of expensive. They'll file down everything here. Of course, you can do it yourself. It's pretty time consuming. You can also take your guitar to guitar therapy and do this quite a bit to get some hydration back in there, put a humidifier in the room. And as you can see, as I'm doing this, I'm going on the edges of the frets. If there's like a lot of gunk in there from like you sweating and playing the guitar a lot, cleaning all that crap out. Okay, and we're gonna go a little bit up here. Okay, get a little spritz. Okay, sweet. So now what we're gonna do is get your microfiber cloth, and we're just gonna wipe off all of the excess here. And I'm gonna have links for all this in the description below, like just what I get. I'm sure there's other brands. You may have different ones you like, whatever. Okay, sweet. Now before we put the strings back on, what I'm gonna do is I am just gonna check to make sure, I'll hold this up here, that all these screws are nice and tight. If I tip it over, actually, let me do this really quick. turn the guitar over, this will fall out. And this may also fall out on your guitar if you tip it over. It maybe needs a little bit of glue, not a ton, but yeah, we're not gonna go over that right now. Okay, so this particular guitar does not have screws in the back holding this up. Some of them do, unless I just am blind. Nope, they don't. However, these guys right here, you can screw those in a little bit. You don't want to screw them in a ton, because what happens is, this is like the tension on tuning this. So this is actually kind of loose. If it's super loose, this is one of the ways your guitar will rattle. And so again, all you need to do is go over here, tighten it up just a little bit. If you go too much, you'll know, because it'll barely turn. All right, perfect. That was like maybe a quarter of a turn, just teeny tiny bit. Next, what you're gonna do is get some pliers, and then come over here and just make sure these little nuts are tight. Some guitars don't have them, but this one does. And be very careful not to scratch up your guitar. So, in fact, I can just feel them. No one's loose. Okay, if they are loose, tighten them up. There we go. Okay, so now we're gonna put the strings on. So what we're gonna do here is we're gonna do this. And you can see that's got a little hole right there, and it's gonna go just like that. So, coming over here, boom. I'll do a couple of them if that was too fast. Okay, but, oop, now it's stuck in there. Okay, it's fine. All right, so then what we're gonna do, thread it through, and then don't pull it tight. I would recommend giving yourself, like on the 12th fret, maybe a hand width. Depending on the size of your hand, we may need to get a little bit more, but what we want to do is when we start to tune it up, is we want this to wrap around a couple times. And the way this is gonna work is we want these ones to go this way, counterclockwise. On this side over here, we want these ones to go clockwise. And the reason is, we don't want to put tension on the side of the nut. So you can see if we're going this other way, there'd be tension going right here. So what we want is to have it going like this, so it goes in. You catch that? So if you tune this way, it goes like that. The string comes out, it's gonna have tension over here, and it may crack this. But if we go in, it's gonna be more like so, not causing that, okay? Cool, so let's do that just a little bit. Give me some slack. And I'm gonna hold the string here, push down right there so it doesn't flip over top, and then just start cranking. We're not gonna tighten up, I'm just gonna put some tension on it. And that bridge pin may wanna start popping up a little bit. We'll take care of that as we go along. Cool, good enough. Next string. So I got 42, I'm going 50, 52, 42. Depending on the string brand, they may come color coordinated. So again, we're going to come over here, put the string right there, this guy over top, see that? And then boom, push it in nice and tight. Thread this bad boy through here. Give ourselves about a hand width. And then I'm just gonna push down right there while I tune it. Good enough. Next one. Okay, so just to reiterate, what we're doing is I'm giving myself some slack so it wraps around, and that will cause it to not slip out, okay? We need it to wrap around a couple times. Sometimes people will like tie a knot, like you go over then under, and I find that to be just a massive pain because it's really hard to tie a piece of metal in a knot, and even if you get it tight, what happens is it's crazy difficult to then cut the string off once you take the strings off. So if it wraps around a couple times, we're good. The string is gonna stretch regardless, and I'll show you how to stretch it out. So that way it's just not slipping. But yeah, so going this route, the string's not gonna come off if it wraps around a couple times, but I wanna point that out in case you've seen people telling you to tie a knot. yeah, I find that to be just a waste of time and causes more difficulty than it should, okay? Now, like I was saying earlier, you can see that this is going in here versus if we round it the other way, it'd be going out, causing to be too much stress right there on the nut, and we don't want to crack that baby, okay? All right, let's keep it going. Now the tuning pegs over here, we're gonna tune these guys clockwise. So again, these are going this way. These are gonna be going that way. So, can you see that? Boom. A little bit of tension there. Home stretch going on. All right, last one. Now you may wonder if you need to use the same ones with wherever they went. I usually do that. I don't know how big a deal it is, but I don't know, maybe I'm just OCD.
More moments later.
Okay, so I got everybody on there, and then you probably caught this, but once I started getting it wound, yes, I put them in their appropriate little slot there. Okay, so now just add a bit of tension. Some of them need more than others. And you can hear it slipping as I'm doing this, right? So that's okay. That's why we gave ourselves plenty of slack, and I realize it's a train wreck right there. Okay, so now I got some decent tension on. What I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna tune everybody up. Not picture perfect, because what's gonna happen is it's gonna right out of tune. I just maybe get it close, like within like a half step or a full step. And again, still adding tension across the entire fretboard. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to get these within like maybe a step or two, and they were pretty far down. I just don't want to get this one within a step and have all these not even close. So that's what's happening right now. You can see this one's now on a D, F sharp, so it's getting close. C sharp's in a half step. Yeah, okay. So now everything's within about a half step to maybe a step and a half. Let's go ahead and tune everybody up. Not perfect, because it's gonna go right out of tune. Cool. Retune it. These didn't pop up. I was expecting them to. And what happens is if it does, sometimes there's just too much tension right here. And so when you're tuning it, this will pop up. And what you do, maybe just roll the tension back, unwind it a little bit, push it down in and go again. And I've never had one where I couldn't get it fixed, but sometimes it takes a couple tries, and that's it. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna start jamming out on the guitar, stretching the strings out. And so what I mean by that, play some chords, play the strings, just strum really hard, whatever. You can even snap them. We're just gonna be getting all the stretchiness out. And then tune it back up and repeat the process. You need to go as many times as you need until it stops changing the tuning. So once it starts to hold, that one's already sharp, so I'm just gonna keep doing this. It'll probably settle back where it needs to go. All right. So I don't jack up my guitar pick, I'm gonna use the side here. Okay, sweet. So they're holding pretty good. Now what's gonna happen is I'm gonna clip those strings. Now obviously, don't accidentally clip the damn string. I had someone do that, I had a guitar student do that. We were changing strings, a little workshop, and they clipped their string. Yeah, they have to go buy a new string. So what'll happen though is we're gonna get as close as we can to here, and then because when you snip it, it's gonna really jar it. It'll probably go out of tune. All right, so it's totally fine. We're gonna do that. And then I may use this or this, and I'm gonna try and push in that little burr that's gonna happen, because that'll snag your fingers, your clothes, Yeah, okay, so here we go. All right, everybody's clipped, and as you can see here, that'll hurt, that'll hurt, that'll hurt. So maybe I'll try and clip just a little closer or push those things down in. Like the 6th string was actually pretty good because it was on the inside, and so that's not gonna really be getting anybody. All right, let's see if this took it out of tune. That took it from an E all the way down to a C sharp, so that jarred it big time. Down to a G sharp, that one didn't, that one didn't, that one didn't, that one didn't. Okay. Okay, she's holding pretty good, and then let's see my work here. I didn't do the best job because I was trying to film and do this all at the same time, but it winds just nicely. When I say I didn't do the best job is I wasn't keeping track of that one, so it kind of wound a little ugly. See, it winds up just fine. Boom, boom, boom. I believe that's it. So I just want to point this out. I don't know if you can see it very well, but see how bright those are? Get that under my finger. Look how nasty that one is. So sometimes people ask, hey, when's a good time to change strings? Well, when they look like that. What happens is when the strings, they get old and rusty kind of, you need to tune them more. They can't really hold a tune as well. They're not as vibrant. You'll notice, you put them on, the guitar oftentimes just sounds like a different guitar because it just makes it sound really, really nice. So it's like a white pair of shoes where you don't realize how nasty they are until you get a new white pair of shoes, okay? Cool. That being said, maybe like depends on how much you play and where you live and the kind of strings you get. I like to get the more expensive strings that have a bit of coating on them so they last longer because I got other things to do besides change strings. Maybe every 3 to 6 months. If you're like obviously performing all the time, then, well, you probably aren't watching this video in the first place, but you would be changing your strings quite often, okay? Good luck tuning your own guitar, and let me know if you have any questions in the comment section below, and be sure to like, share, subscribe.